Hi, everybody. It's a beautiful Thursday evening here in Enoch, Alberta at River Cree Resort and Casino. Tonight, we have a wonderful double bill show. We have Streetheart playing, and we have the wonderful Lee Aaron, who is here with me tonight. Yay. How are you today?
Doing great. After I had a little sleep, I was up at 4 a.m. for a flight, but yeah, other than that, absolutely fantastic. Yes.
That's wonderful. For those of you who don't know, Lee had a show yesterday in Winnipeg with Honeymoon Suite, and so we have her and her band here tonight, and so thank you so much for doing this interview, because I know it's been absolutely crazy for you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry about all the background noise, but we're in the middle of a sound check right now. Now we're hearing, of course, as soon as we start filming, there's like vocals and drums and all kinds of crazy stuff. So
it's okay. It's all good. So I want to actually start back in your childhood. You were in a lot of musicals. You loved musicals.
Yes.
So I want to know, what are some of your favorite musicals, and which ones were you actually in? Like, did you perform in any of them?
Oh my gosh, my favorite musicals. Almost too many to even mention. And then it's always evolving and changing, because I'm always seeing theater when I'm in Vancouver. I mean, I'm trying to think of what I've seen recently. Book of Mormon was amazing.
Okay, I haven't seen that one yet.
Les Mis.
My favorite.
I went and saw Les Mis in Toronto like 3 or 4 times in the 80s.
Yes.
It was just like one of my faves, but
yes, mine too.
Oh my gosh, what have I been in? I was in a production of Heidi when I was a kid. I was in Babes in Arms. These are a little older, more traditional musicals. Got it off the top of my head. Those are the only 2 I can really think of off the top of my head. But but that was kind of my training, was coming up through that world, learning how to work collaboratively with a group of people, which is amazing.
Yes.
And it's a good foundation for working in a rock band, really.
Yes.
And I learned great vocal skills and vocal techniques being in choirs and also being in musical theater. I mean, to some degree, I credit that with the fact that I actually still have my voice, and we do all of our songs in the original keys that they were recorded in.
Yes.
And rather than a lot of people, they get older, they have to drop the pitch. And again, try to take good care of my voice and try to use it properly, which I credit a lot of that to musical theater.
Yes. Yeah. So I want to talk about Metal Queen, because that song was based off of a character in the movie Heavy Metal. And the song is about female empowerment. Yeah. Can you talk about that for a bit and expand on that?
Strangely, I don't remember a lot about that movie.
Okay.
Many, many years later, but I just remember I was inspired because it was about a woman who was standing up against sexism and not putting up with any crap.
Yeah.
And I went, I really could identify with that character in the time and in the moment, because let's be honest, the 80s were such a sexist decade.
Yes.
And I was surrounded by, I was in this complete world of men. The music industry was dominated and ruled by men. And I wanted, through that song, create basically a character about a woman who was, a girl boss.
Yes.
And, because of the era in which it was written and presented, I think that message unfortunately got lost on a lot of people. But in the last, 15 to 20 years of my career, I've been able to talk about that more.
Yes.
And it's sort of becoming, I get a lot more women coming to my shows these days, and people have revisited the song in a new light.
Yes.
And gone, oh my gosh, I get it now.
Yes.
And wow, that was actually pushing the envelope for its time. And so I went through a phase of not wanting to play the song for many years, only because people, the media sort of, they attached that identity to me in such a strong way. It was like, Lee Aaron, she's just this metal queen, and everything the sort of connotations that came with this, that I wasn't very smart, that I must be this hard living, person. And then I adopted all of that lifestyle that went along with it, which was completely almost a 180 from what it actually was. It was about a woman who was intelligent, about a woman who was standing up for herself, about a woman who wanted to be in control and in charge of her own affairs. And now people are seeing it in a new light, which is really refreshing and really nice for me.
No, that's wonderful. And also the same with your video, What You Gonna Do to My Body.
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
thing. Do you want to talk a bit about that and how you use that as well for female empowerment?
Well, the message for that song, we were really able to illustrate that through the power of video.
Yes.
And it was also at a juncture in my career where I started to have more control over visuals,
Yes.
and about what was happening. And so in the very sexist 80s, when so many of the videos at that time, women were brought into the fold for videos, basically to make the men look more powerful or more testosterone fueled, and to, you know, hang off their arms like trophy women. And I thought, what if we flip that whole narrative on its head and hire a whole bunch of really good looking guys to support me? But we didn't do it in any kind of salacious or malicious kind of way. We did it in a way that was almost comedic and with your tongue in your cheek. It was making fun of it. I had big, good-looking burly bikers with holding puppies and things like that, right? And so it was really about women being able to be empowered with their own sexuality.
Okay. So you've been a huge role model of mine. Like, I remember watching your videos in the 80s on Video Hits and later on Much Music. You're such a strong, empowering woman, and your messages are so great. How does that make you feel, being a role model for people like myself and hundreds of other women and kids that are watching you now?
Well, I mean, obviously that makes me feel great. And that was always I don't think I was originally going, I'm writing these songs to be a role model. It was sort of just as a much younger lady or girl, right? Just expressing myself and expressing the things that were important to me at the time. But I think that those messages are certainly messages that still resonate, in many, across different cultures, and because it's, in many ways, women are, I hesitate to use the word that I would say feminist, because that can come with a lot of negativity as well. But I mean, I certainly think that the messages were supposed to be for women, to empower women, to set boundaries, to stand up for themselves, to demand equality.
Yes.
It's funny because I recently did a covers album in 2024, and I thought, well, I have to cover Heart, because they were one of my huge influences. Of
course.
And Nancy Wilson. And I chose the song Even It Up because Even It Up was off the Baby Lestrange album. It was the first album that they stepped away and did an album without the Fisher Brothers and those male influences in their life. And the song Even It Up is a song about equality.
Yes.
It's 100%. And I thought that just resonates for me. So, And so, that makes me feel great if women are able to take away some empowering messages from my music and apply them in their own life. I still have a lot of women come up and say, oh my God, your song, like Tough Girls Don't Cry, got me through one of the worst times of my life. And not that I'm saying you should never cry, but that to summon your strength.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. We're going to have a lot of us women in the front row cheering you on, because we're all here to see you. So I want to talk about your jazz album.
Sure.
Because it's so different.
Nobody ever talks to me about that in a rock interview, but
really?
Yeah, awesome.
No, I want to hear about it. How did that come to be? How did you choose your songs? Did you write a lot of the songs for the album? Tell us all about it.
Well, jazz for the most part is largely an interpretive craft.
Yes.
So you'll take an old jazz song, because, oh my gosh, like some of those beautiful old songs that were written by the Tin Pan Alley writers, people just don't write material like that anymore. Mm-hmm. But you can take them apart sideways and backwards and put them back together and make them your own. So again, it's largely an interpretive musical form. And it came about because, let's be honest, grunge happened in the 90s.
Yes.
And while I got to be honest, I loved grunge.
Yeah.
I thought all of those bands were just fantastic. And I felt like the music industry really needed to shift and change because corporate rock had gotten pretty crappy by the late 80s, early 90s, because all the record labels were just basically signing up bands going, be like this band or be like that band. So it got corporate and it got bad. However, me doing music that was a little more grungy, like the Emotional Rain album, wasn't widely accepted because of stereotyping and because of media perception. They were like, no, Lee Aaron is an 80s classic rock artist. She's not allowed to evolve. So pretty much everybody that was associated with the 80s and with big hair rock, their careers kind of fell off the edge of the planet. And I found myself going, okay, now what? The industry won't accept me doing, because I moved to Vancouver and I did an entire alternative album with the Sons of Freedom.
Yes.
And which is some of the work I'm most proud of.
Yes.
But again, like the industry can be very myopic.
Yes.
In its perspective about things, and it's all about perception. And the perception was that Lee Aaron is not allowed to do that kind of music. So I took a year off and I had to reevaluate whether I even wanted to continue in this industry. And I was listening to a lot of my old jazz and blues albums. I mean, I'm a massive Nina Simone fan.
Yes.
And a few friends of mine said, well, it's so silly. Why don't you just go sing this music? You love it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I do. And so it started with me just doing a few small little gigs in the Vancouver area, the Vancouver Lower Mainland, doing some jazz and blues. And the next thing I knew, within like a couple of months, it's like the Sun newspaper and all of these media outlets were there, and Lee Aaron's doing jazz. And I was getting all of these crazy positive reviews. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I guess I'll make a jazz and blues album. And, the deeper that I started to dig into that genre, you really also realize that these are the roots of rock and roll.
Yes.
This is where rock came from. Now, just a funny little aside here. We recently, as a family, we're kind of like vintage film buffs in our family.
Awesome.
And we watched the original, one of Marlon Brando's first films. I think it was his like second or third film, called The Wild One, where he plays the leader of a motorcycle gang in like the late 1950s or mid 1950s. And this gang, they end up in this club at a small town, and they're all hanging out, and they're like, they put the jukebox on, and they're ready to like rage and rock, and it's like, da, 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 da. It's like, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that's what rock and roll was in the mid 50s, was this kind of jazzy kind of music. And it was just so bizarre to see all these guys in leathers and biker gear, like rocking out to jazz music. And I'm like, oh, right. But and then guys came and they went, no, we're going to switch it up here. We're going to plug our guitars into electric amps and play this music. And that was the birth of rock and roll. So the deeper that I started to dig with this music, I was like, well, yeah, this is such a historical education for me as well, because this was the birth of rock and roll. Mm-hmm. And, I chose a lot of my material on that album just from artists that I was in love with at the time. Lambert Hendrickson Ross, Nina Simone, Annie Ross, Anita O'Day, Dinah Washington, just like Sarah Vaughan. The list is endless, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So are there any chances of doing a second jazz album, and would you ever tour that in the future? Because I mean, that would be something I would love to see, and I'm sure your fans would love to see as well.
Aren't you broad in terms of your taste? That's amazing.
I had season tickets for the symphony here in Edmonton for years.
That's amazing. Yeah. I always say never. Okay. I didn't know that I'd still be doing rock and roll at this age, but I just have the passion and the fire to do it.
Yes.
Now, who knows? maybe I'll like hit a certain age, get to 70 and just go like, yeah, I guess I'm going to make another jazz record. Maybe, I don't know. It's still a genre that I enjoy very much. And I have to tell you that singing it and performing it is, a lot of people don't realize it's quite a challenge, because more challenging I find than rock. Like, people want to hear you perform your rock hits the way they sound on the album, the same every night.
Yeah.
But jazz, it's a heads up gig.
It is.
The reason I say heads up is because, you could be playing, and then it's like, okay, hey, you know what? Like, things are really grooving. Let's trade fours. I'm not going to come in with the next verse. You guys like jam out for a bit, and then, and I don't think I would sing those songs the same way on any given night.
Right.
Again, it's a very interpretive form, and it's I really enjoyed it. I found it was just a wonderful way to stretch myself artistically during that juncture of my career.
Awesome. So I'm going to switch gears a little and talk about family. So
Sure.
your husband is your drummer.
Yeah.
Which is really cool, and you've raised a family on the road. So how has that been like?
Well, saying we raised our family on the road is probably wrong, though.
Okay.
I mean, I think I figured out early on that children really need stability. They need to go to the same school. They need to have the same friend group. And so what I did is, after our daughter was born, I had this crazy idea in my head. I'm like, I'm just going to pack her up in a car seat and take her on tour.
Yeah.
And she hated her car seat, and she screamed all the way to Safeway. And by 2 months in, I was like a complete flipping train wreck of a parent. I'm going to be honest. I had postpartum really bad. I was a mess, and I was like, this is not working. And a few things happened for me. I had to really reevaluate. I had to go, if my identity is not being Lee Aaron, the rock star, what is my identity? And I realized I had to shift gears, and being a mother, being a parent is the most important identity you're ever going to have in your entire life.
Yeah.
And so I really had to shift gears mentally.
Yeah.
And I called my agent and said, don't even call me unless it's a really high paying gig. And I'm only going to do, rather than going out on tour for 250 shows a year, it's like, I'm going to do 10 shows a year.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just scaled back everything that I was doing so that it was manageable.
Yes.
We call it weekend warrior work.
Yes.
I had a great conversation one time with Nancy Wilson. We were backstage at a festival we were on, and she was telling me, when her twins with Cameron Crowe were born, she said, I became a weekend warrior.
Yeah.
I'd go out like every other weekend and do shows so that I wasn't away, and I was there to be the soccer mom during the week, right? It's not very glamorous, not very sexy, but it is what it is. And it's the greatest job in the world. I love being a mom. And we had our son right away because we thought, let's just do this all at the same time and get it over with. And so we just scaled back the touring and focused on raising children. And that's just such a wonderful creative job as well. I mean, all my creative energy went into, doing character voices when I was reading books and doing puppet shows for them. And it was just so much fun. And now we have these two beautiful young adult children. They're 20 and 22 now. And they both love the arts. They're both gifted in the arts, and they're both starting their careers in the arts.
I was just going to ask that. So are they musicians, actors? What kind?
Our daughter is an actress, singer, dancer, involved in musical theater. She's heading into like her second or third paying gig now, and she's equity gig, and she's so gifted. Like, it's, I got to tell you, she got cast as the lead. Oh, sorry, I'm touching my microphone here. She got cast as the lead in Beauty and the Beast when she was like 12 years old. She played Belle, and she was with a semi-professional theater group locally. And she was so private about all her rehearsals and all her singing. She would never let us hear her sing. She would go in the garage and close the door. No, you can't hear me sing. She was very self-conscious. And when we saw her, like that was a decade ago, we saw her perform. I had tears in my eyes. I was like, oh my God, like that's my kid. And she's so good.
Yes.
Like, when did that happen? So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and not because of anything that I did. I never gave her one single vocal lesson. She's just amazing. And our son is playing guitar, and he's in a cool rock band from Vancouver called the Space Crash Echoes, and
Awesome.
they are really unique. They have 2 girls in the band, and I'm just so proud of him. He's in a band with women,
Yes.
female bass player, female front person, and they're just so good. And and so that dynamic is completely familiar for him because his mom is in a band, right? And so they're both launching into these brand new creative careers. I couldn't be more proud of them.
Well, that's
Yeah.
awesome. So be sure to check out both in their endeavors if you're in the Vancouver area, correct?
Yeah. Sure.
So I want to talk about, I was actually in Coquitlam when there was the benefit for Rock and Norton. And you played that, and Jeff Neal was the guitarist with you, and your husband was on drums, and Dave Reimer was on bass. So what's it like being able to play with Streetheart tonight and sharing that stage with Jeff again?
Oh, well, Jeff actually subbed for Sean Kelly last year and played the High Neighbor Festival for us. So
Yes.
Jeff is a great friend, all the guys in Streetheart. Spider, years ago, played on my Call of the Wild album.
Oh, awesome.
He was a bass player on one of my albums. So we know all those guys. And, it's just like hanging out with your rock and roll brothers and sisters when we get a chance to do a show with so many of the Canadian bands. Like we played last night with Honeymoon Suite.
Yes.
They're great friends as well.
Yes.
And it's just, I think when we were all like 35 years younger, it was a lot more like competitive, and now it's the fact that we are all out there. We're all still doing this. We all have so much energy and so much passion for what we do. It's sort of like being part of this big rock and roll family.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's no weirdness, no competitiveness, nothing like that anymore. It's just like we just honor and respect each other so much. And it's just such a wonderful feeling to be part of that Canadian rock community and be able to share stages together and still do this. It's amazing.
So what is your favorite song to perform?
Oh, I hate that question. That's like asking me which one is my favorite child. No, I don't really have a favorite. I mean, I like playing I'm a Woman from the Diamond Baby album because it's a blues number, and I kind of get to showcase the fact that I kind of can sing jazz and blues as well as do rock. Plus it's just an old Coco Taylor cover that we did. Fantastic song. But I look out and I see people loving What You Do to My Body or Metal Queen or any one of the hits we do. And it's just so wonderful to see people's faces, and, cause those songs, are nostalgic, and they take them back usually. It's like teleporting people back to a time in their life when they have memories and smells and sounds and feelings attached to that music